So today's topic is all about how you need to have the right support. I've talked about this a lot within my 5 pillars of empowerment, which, as you know, are having the right mindset, the right education, the right environment, the right facilitators, and the right support. And this ties into that. So what I have noticed a lot of the time is that when you're planning a birth that is not quite what your friends and family are used to, or what the mom groups say that is normal, what happens is that you get a lot of naysayers. And this is true with anything, whether it's building a business or just taking your own path when it comes to teaching your kids from home, or if you're choosing to breastfeed and nobody in your family and friends has done it, or they just don't understand why this is so important to you. Not having that support, those cheerleaders around you, can be a real problem. So what am I talking about here? Okay, so the right support basically is having the friends and family who are going to lift you up, not tear you down. What does that mean? It means that when you tell them that you're planning to have a VBAC or a home birth, they aren't going, "Oh, isn't that dangerous? Oh, I don't know. Like I had a friend of a friend who did that, and like really bad things happened." This is the same thing with business as well. When you decide to work for yourself and your friends and family might be like, "Oh, you do know that most businesses fail in the first few years, right? That's pretty risky. You don't really want to do that." Well, first of all, if we listen to those people, nobody would ever have started an online business or a business that's brick and mortar. Nobody would ever have done anything that was against the status quo. And nobody would have a home birth or a VBAC or a vaginal birth after 3 or more cesareans. Because what's really holding people back from encouraging you is their own fears. And you really need to know that what they're saying has absolutely nothing to do with you. But it is disempowering. And that's where having the right support really comes into play here. You need to be able to have those people around you who will lift you up and support you, even when everybody else doesn't. You need to recognize that this is up to you. This is your life. This is your body. This is your birth, and you can control it. This is why I also tell my clients that the first step in planning an empowered birth is that you need to be able to know what you want and get the education for it. So if you are on the e-newsletter that I have, then you also know that I talk a lot about how you need to figure out what exactly you want and figure out also what you don't want. And then the next step, of course, is you need to have the right environment for that. Not just your physical environment while you're giving birth, but also who you're surrounding yourself with and what kind of positive environment that is or not. If it's not a positive environment where you can thrive and plan your birth and feel empowered, then you need to change your situation. And this is why I talk a lot about the mommy shaming groups and how you really want to stay away from those. Because when you jump into those Facebook groups, what do you get? You go in there and you say, "I want to have a natural birth." And then you get a whole bunch of comments from people who say how horrible it is, or that nobody gets a trophy for birth, or that you need to have a backup plan because natural birth is less likely to happen if you're older, or if you've had a C-section, or if you're overweight, or all of these other negative things that basically say you can't do it. And honestly, that's like telling somebody who's in their 60s, "You're too old to start a business." Well, actually, I have a lot of friends inside of the virtual coach community who are doing just that. Some of them are even in their 70s and 80s, and they're starting over and they're building a business and they're doing quite well. So there's never a moment where you're too old or too fat or you don't have enough support around you that you can't possibly do something as powerful as birthing your baby. And a lot of the time what I see is that as we get into our 30s and 40s, what happens is that people start to say, "Well, you're more likely to have a C-section. You're more likely to have an induction. You're more likely to have complications." Sure, okay. However, the numbers actually are not as big as people like to say that they are. And chances are you could have a perfectly healthy baby. So one of my clients and best friends in the whole wide world, and one of our lovely admins, Jenny, is currently having her second baby. Like, she is pregnant right now. And she would have been told, if she did not know how to empower herself and choose the right care provider, she would have been told, well, you're much older and you weren't that young when you had your first, and you've had hypertension and you had preeclampsia and you had a C-section, so chances are we're just going to schedule you another C-section. But Jenny has been working within the Take Charge of Birth program, not only as my star student, but also helping me build the program. So she's getting additional coaching from me. And as we're working on projects together, she's also getting that help through our jam sessions every week. And she is so ready to have her baby. And she hasn't even had her first anatomy scan yet. She isn't even 20 weeks yet. But she's already had a lot of success in talking to her care provider about what she really wants for her birth. And last night, she actually told me, I don't really need any of these backup plans. And I told her, no, the whole idea of the backup plan was so that you would get out of your fear, and it's a process so that now you know what you're working towards. And if that scary thing does come up, you can handle it, no problem. So the fact that she's been working with me since back in November of 2020, she is now so confident in her birth already at 20 weeks. And this is something that is based on the fact that she also has the right support. She has the right friends around me. Jenny is not hanging out in the mom groups and asking for support there. Jenny is in our community. She's lifting you up. She's giving you information. You might have seen a lot of the guides that she posted earlier in the Facebook group this week, and she continues to feed that information. In fact, she's reading the book, Why Induction Matters. I bought it for her birthday, and the stuff that she's picked up from it, it's blowing her away. And she's like, wow, like now I know that everything that I thought about my pregnancy and my birth and how it went, like I was right. And I'm like, well, of course you were right. But now you have the proof, and now you can move forward. And Jenny also has the right support in the fact that as part of the higher level of our Take Charge of Birth program, we have a group chat. So in our messenger chat, I have Lisa and Rebecca and Jenny and me, and we sit and we talk pretty much round the clock. We will send each other messages in the group chat, and we lift each other up. And having those people around you to lift you up is what helps you with that right support and that right environment. If you don't have that, you need to build it. Because I did not have that with my first pregnancy. I didn't have anybody who knew what birth could be like. But when I became a rally coordinator for Improving Birth in Abbotsford, I gathered two people around me already. I had Wendy and I had Christine. They were working with me on projects, but at the same time, I was getting their support. I was getting them cheering me on for my own home birth. And at the same time, Christine then found out she was pregnant, so we were cheering her on about her VBAC. And the fact is that having those people that you can go to and say, I just got off this appointment with my doctor, and he just said something that kind of frustrated me a little bit. And then you have that group around you that's like, well, I mean, first of all, he forgets that babies will come out of vaginas even if he's not around. And what are you really committed to? And what are you thinking about this? How do you feel about this? Instead of saying, oh, no, don't worry, like the doctor knows everything and like you're in good hands and you should listen to the doctor. No, we're like, what exactly is it that you're wanting here for your birth? Let's remind you of that commitment that you have to yourself and what you're ultimately standing for. And what do you want to tell your doctor? And how do you want to handle this? And then we come to our own conclusions about that, of what we want in our lives when it comes to our relationships, our doctors, or anything else that's coming up. Like for me, I'm on the business side. So I don't just have the birth community because right now I'm not pregnant. Once I get pregnant again, I will be bringing in that support around me, because even someone who is like the expert of pregnancy and has done it and knows what they're talking about, even we have doubts. If you read Rebecca Decker's book, Babies Are Not Pizzas, You can even see this in one of her pregnancies where she says, like, you know, even though with all of my knowledge and information, I still had that doubt. I still had that fear come up. And knowing that someone as highly powerful and knowledgeable as her can also have those fears, that's why you just be gentle with yourself. It's going to come up. And when it comes up, if you have the right support around you, if you're not sitting in the mommy shaming groups trying to get it, or you're not trying to go to your family and friends who really don't believe in natural birth or don't believe in VBAC or don't believe in the kind of birth that you want to have, but instead go to the people who say, yeah, you can do it. I've done it. Or I know someone who's done it and I'm studying to do it and I'm working on doing it. And we're all going to support each other. That's where the magic really lies. And I do this myself when I am building my business and learning coaching. And I have worked now over a year within the virtual coach community. I have my own mentors for this. So I have mentors that I can go to and say, hey, my website, what do you think of it? This is what I've built. And they say, this is awesome. And here's a way to make it better. And they really support me. And then I have my friends and the other students within the same community, and they're all working towards their different goals, and they're all having their own struggles. And some of them are further ahead than me, and some of them are a little bit behind where I started from. And we all lift each other up. And that is the goal, because in a community where you're all building businesses, suddenly you can see what's possible. And the same thing for birth. When you're in a community where everybody is doing it, everybody is having an empowered birth, everybody around you is doing it at a higher level and really getting that support around you. Once you know that that's possible, then suddenly things just start popping up for you. It opens up more of your experience and you're going, oh, wow, I can do that. Or, oh, I didn't think of it that way. Thank you. Or just getting that loving support can be enough. And so while Lisa and Rebecca were pregnant back in the summertime, this is what we did. So Rebecca would come in and she'd say, this is the appointment that I just had. Or Lisa would come in and she'd talk about how her family was not supporting her and she was getting really frustrated, especially after what had happened to her within her postpartum. And we were there as her support. And same with Jenny, when she would have some frustrations or fears coming up, especially while she was writing her complaint letters, we were there for her. And it's just that beautiful combination of support is what's really important. Being in close proximity with other people who are doing the things that you want to be doing automatically puts you at that higher level. You feel more energetic. You feel more like you can do this. And not only can you do this, you get some really good ideas. So when you're in that proximity, that environment, automatically what happens is that you get more big ideas. And so that's how I built my business. And it's also how you can empower yourself in your birth by being around people who believe in you and who can do that. So if that sounds like something of interest to you and you would like to know more, then send me a message or put it in the chat and let me know what your thoughts are and what we could possibly build together, because I really want you to be able to have that right support around you. It is incredibly difficult to try to get all of the information that you can on the kind of birth you want, or figure out the kind of birth you want, or keep your mindset strong and keep your positive energy going when everybody else around you is like, this is really scary and you really shouldn't be planning this, and I would rather you were just in the hospital and you had a C-section because I'm not comfortable with this. Or your care provider is not being completely supportive, or you just don't know how to have certain conversations with them. Or maybe you need a doula and you can't find doula support and you have nowhere to start. Or maybe your partner is not being supportive and you want to find a way to get your partner on board. So that's all I have for you today. And another thing I just wanted to let you know is that my website is now up. I have revamped it and created something in collaboration with Jenny, and it's now empoweringmomsbirth.com. Okay, so it's no longer empoweringmomsbirth.ca, it's now empoweringmomsbirth.com. And the reason for this was because I've noticed that not only am I getting clients from Canada, but a lot from the US as well. So I wanted this to be a catch-all, so people from the US aren't thinking, oh, this is just for Canada. It's not. In fact, my client Rebecca is from the US, and she worked with me over the summer, and she had her amazing empowered birth in October, and now we're taking the next steps, and she's in the high-level mastermind with Lisa and Jenny and I, and we're planning to basically take over the world in a way, in our own aspects of it, raising more empowered children, changing the collective consciousness of our families so that they can get to the next level, having the ability to have more money and more time and more freedom, and having better relationships with our partners and with our children and with our family members and with our friends, and also building a business, because some of the things that Jenny wants to do is very much aligned with building a business, and Lisa wants to launch her career, and Rebecca wants to launch hers. So we're at that higher level now. Okay, and I will see you soon. Same time, same channel. Every single Tuesday is Take Back Your Birth Tuesdays at 1 p.m. Pacific, and we will see you next week. Bye, guys.